Okay, and I think we're ready to start. Hi everyone, thanks for joining and welcome to this webinar. My name is Fernando Gonzalez and I am the Marketing Director at Bellatrix Software. We can see a lot of people joining and we're very excited with how much impact this subject has generated among the software community. For those of you who are new to Bellatrix, let me do a quick introduction. Bellatrix is a software product innovation company based in South America. We have 3 main development centers, 2 in Mendoza, Argentina, and 1 in Lima, Peru. Our mission is to help our global partners maximize their software development and innovation potential. Today's webcast is about distributed development teams. We all know how hard it is to work with agile teams that are distributed around the globe. But with the right knowledge and the right set of skills, agile distributed teams can easily outperform any other team. But to go deep into this subject, here with me are Silvana Gaia, Jose Gramaglia, and Lorraine Murphy-Dodds. Silvana is our technical solutions consultant. She's a system engineer with a massive experience dealing with multiple teams and one of the promoters of Bellatrix expertise in Agile. Jose is a program manager. Pepe, as everyone calls him, has over 15 years of experience, time in which he has led multiple Agile teams in many verticals. Currently, he coordinates and supervises several globally distributed teams working in different projects. And Lorraine, she's our project manager. She has unparalleled experience as a Scrum Master, leading teams to accomplish their goals, making clients highly satisfied. We have saved some time at the end of the webinar for answering questions. Please type in any question in the box located to the right of your screen. We'll collect them and hopefully we will be able to answer every one of them. After this short introduction, we'll go straight to the content and that should take us about 40 minutes. With no further introduction, I will leave you with Silvana.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for participating in our presentation today. Today, we will go through some typical questions companies face while working with distributed agile teams. Our purpose is to help you anticipate those questions and to share with you some practical aspects based on our experience. We assume that everyone has a general understanding of the Agile methodology.
Silvana, why don't you share some of the topics that we will cover today?
Great, sure. First, we are going to talk about some challenges companies have with this kind of teams. Next, we'll talk about how we decide the team size and the location of each team. We'll explain what profiles are suitable for the distributed environment. We are also going to mention some considerations to have in mind regarding the workload that is assigned to each member of the team. We'll review how we support agile activities and artifacts in this environment. And finally, we'll describe the roles involved in the team. Okay, let's move on to the first part, the challenges. Any kind of software projects required a lot of communication. This is not different from agile projects. When the team is geographically distributed, communication can become a challenge. It is very important to anticipate this and address it proactively. Distributed team requires long leadership. Leaders of distributed teams should facilitate optimal levels of communication among team members. This brings me to my next point, leadership. We do believe that leaders are key in any successful project. Generally, our leaders are internal resources. We don't hire new ones. They are the ones in charge of spreading our organization's culture. They understand our values and promote them. We have internal leadership training and we detect potential leaders inside the company. They should be aware of cultural differences and develop empathy with other cultures.
Can you, Silvana, share some specific example of a difference you have identified?
Yes, sure. For example, we've noticed that in Peru, the organizational structure is more pyramidal than in Argentina. So in these cases, the leaders should provide the right environment for everyone to give their opinions.
Perfect, thanks.
Problem. Well, another important aspect to highlight is that we promote frequent visits as a good practice. It's been very successful for project kickoffs that the client travels to Argentina or Peru for 1 week, for example. In other cases, 1 or 2 engineers travels to the client's facilities. Meeting face-to-face at the beginning of the project really improves the settlement of a good relationship. Now, let's talk about team composition. When a client comes to us looking for help, we will doubt together the way to achieve their specific goals. We suggest the team size depending on the specific project scope. Team size usually ranges from 5 to 12 members. From my experience, it normally requires 4 to 8 weeks to start an outsourced project, from contract execution to project launch. This period of time allows to recruit both internally and externally to identify the most qualified engineers to join the project. In certain instances, that period may be shorter if there are engineers available on the bench. Having multiple locations gives companies the opportunity to hire talent where they find it and launch projects faster. Here in the company, we have a large candidate database and in-house recruiters who helps us quickly identify the right candidate with the support of some specific tools.
Can you mention specifically what those tools are?
Yes, of course. We have 2 main tools. One is an open source applicant tracking tool that is called CATS. That tool, we use it to manage the external candidates database, and we have also developed a system called TMS for talent management system that helps us with the internal recruiting.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay, now let's talk about profiles. Personality traits are very important to consider. Some engineers aren't naturally fit for doing distributed Agile. It is important to recruit personality profiles that can contribute strongly. Our human resources team uses psychological insights to recruit engineers that are highly suited to this kind of projects. Here are a few characteristics of them. They should have good communication skills. They should enjoy teamwork. They should be passionate and committed. They should develop empathy with other cultures. They should be creative. They should be action and quality oriented. This enables companies to provide highly stable teams with very low attrition levels.
And that's a key point, because if you think that we are on an industry that has an average attrition rate that ranks from 30 to 35%, commitment to training and employee retention programs are critical to every company doing distributed agile teams or software development.
Yes, that's right. Okay, now I'd like to go on to how we maintain even workloads across the team. Depending on the product's needs, we put together a team of engineers, including UX design, developers, and QA specialists. we start working with Sprint 0. During Sprint 0, the project is deconstructed in story points, sizing pieces of work according to their complexity. The team self-organizes, assigning tasks depending on each seniority and velocity, and planning to achieve a viable software delivery at the end of the sprint. Using the Agile iterative approach, at the end of each sprint, we validate team members' delivery time rates to calibrate the next sprint's plan. At the end of the sprint, all the story points are measured and velocity calculated. The goal is to balance the workload for the team so all sprint's goals can be achieved. What we usually do is a poker planning session.
And that's a very interesting and useful tool we use a lot here. So Pepe will share with us some more explanation or a deeper explanation about how to use poker planning, because that's really, really important. Pepe?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Fernando. Even when it is assumed that everyone is familiar with the story point concept, we will do a brief recap just as an introduction to the planning poker. As everyone knows, user stories allow us to estimate the complexity of different user stories or requirements. The final goals are to have an approximate measure of the whole project complexity or size, but also tracking team velocity in a consistent way. By doing the math, including team velocity and project size, we'll be able to know how much time, effort, resources we should assign to a particular project. Even when it is assumed that estimations are not perfect, we will learn anyway, since we prefer to be almost right than completely wrong. In the end, it is just an approach that will allow us to decide whether if that project makes sense, considering the benefit it would provide to the organization and the investment it will require. As you may know, we usually use the Fibonacci sequence as possible values in the sizing process. The idea behind using this sequence is to give us an easy differentiation between a small user story and another one that could be twice in size or complexity. But at the same time, jump quickly to higher sizes, avoiding useless discussion about whether a big user story is little bigger or little small. What I mean is that considering it is an approximation, if certain user story has a complexity of 12, 13, or 14. We just need one number, and following this sequence, we will choose the 13. Or 21, if we feel like 13 is so little to represent the complexity. As recommendation, complexity of 21 usually represents user story that should be divided into more smaller one. Please let's try to estimate volumes. Sure, you can do a good job estimating how many cups of water you need, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure you will be in trouble if you try to estimate how many cups of water you need to fill the building where you are located right now. That is why it is recommended to divide the problem on smaller pieces. So let us talk about big contribution of this tool is that it forces everyone on the team to make their best effort on providing an accurate sizing. It is a common behavior to take the easy way, and in this context, the easy way is to repeat what the more senior at the team has said, so that they avoid being exposed in front of others. Many people fear to look ridiculous in public, so they will prefer to keep quiet instead of expressing their ideas, just in case those ideas may be wrong. As you can see on the slide, the planning poker rules are pretty simple. First, we need a common understanding of what a complexity of 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13 means to the team. This is the basic step before starting the use of story points. Otherwise, each teammate may be using a different measurement patterns. After having a common pattern, we are ready to start. So, as a team, we will take one user story and review its requirements. Then we will take some time to think individually about the implication this user story has. After that, everyone on the table will show to the others the card with the number they have selected, but at the same time. The good thing about planning poker is that everyone at the team has the same opportunity to express themselves, but also the same responsibility of doing a good estimation, since no one likes to look less intelligent than others by not taking in consideration some elements that may imply that a user story is whether easy or complex. If there is agreement, we just assign those story points to the user story. But if once everyone has showed their cards there is a big difference on the selected sizes, then we will identify who has selected the smaller and the bigger number, and we will give them the opportunity of telling to the others why they think it is that simple or that complex. Likely, we will obtain fresh information that previously was hidden, and now everyone can use it to review their estimation. The rule is to move quickly when we are all in agreement, but take some time for discussion when we are on disagreement. It is okay on doing a second round of votes for the same user story after the discussion to check that we are all on the same page. After that, we will move to the next user story. Despite everyone gets fascinated with the evolution of the society, motivated by the recent technology like smartphone, Facebook, cloud computing, etc., sorry for that. There are still many organizations tied to the old paradigm that a team needs to be all together in the same room to consolidate the team and be able to progress toward the goal. This old paradigm is not an option anymore, since globalization has changed the rules, and nowadays recruiting the right talent with aligned skills and attitude plus a reasonable cost is more important than physical location. The good news is that there are many electronic platforms that facilitate this process. Planningpoker.com, the one who is shown there in the slide, is one of the most popular free tools that are used all over the world. As I mentioned before, the secret with the planning poker is to vote without being influenced by other teammates. So please avoid trying to play planning poker without the use of some platform like this one. Otherwise, you will be wasting your time. I hope to have thrown some lights on the philosophy of and use of the planning poker tool, and of course, I will be glad to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pepe. The planning poker tool is actually a really useful tool. So for the second part of this webinar, we'll get down now to some more details in how to manage Agile teams. And for that, we have Lorraine here with us.
Hello. Well, with the Agile activities, we've been lucky here. We have a real advantage in all Agile activities that Scrum proposes for a project, because all of our offices are located in a time zone that maximizes team collaboration and efficiency for optimal delivery. So, depending on the location of our clients' teams, we usually have a workday overlap with the entire team. Peru is located in the US Eastern Time Zone, and Argentina is just 1 hour ahead of them. So building on the time zone advantage, we actively use VoIP tools to facilitate audio calls as well as instant messaging. One of the key elements that Scrum proposes is the daily meeting, and this really shortens distances. When we start a new project, we feel slightly awkward, adjusting to each other's way of doing things. But as time goes by, this daily Scrum provides the perfect activity to do face-to-face interactions by tapping into video conferencing tools like Skype, WebEx, Google Hangouts, TeamViewer, and Join Me. Through this daily activity and the tools that we use for it, we have been able to build mutually satisfying relationships built on trust and empathy, and basically by really getting to know each other, and in this way span the geographical distance that separates us. The artifacts that support the Scrum process are the product backlog. This is what will be delivered, ordered into the sequence in which it should be delivered. It is open and editable by anyone, but the product owner is ultimately responsible for ordering the items on the backlog for the team to choose. As we heard Pepe just now, items are estimated in story points using POCA planning. These story points help the product owner estimate the roadmap and probable timeline so that he can order the elements in the backlog in the most convenient way to satisfy his business needs. The Sprint Backlog is a subset of the product backlog and is the list of work the team must address during the sprint. This list of issues is derived by selecting product backlog items from the top of the product backlog until the team feels it has enough work to fill the sprint. This is done by the team, asking, can we also do this? And adding product backlog items to the sprint backlog. The team should keep in mind its past performance, assessing its capacity for the new sprint, and use this as a guideline of how much effort they can complete. To support these artifacts, we use a collaboration portal that assures 100% transparency with real-time feedback and visibility throughout the development process to the whole team using Agile project management tools like Jira with Greenhopper, Rally, version 1, Mingle, or Pivotal Tracker. Another important artifact is the Burndown Chart, especially important in Agile distributed teams because of the visibility it offers on how the sprint workload is being achieved in one or through several teams. For those of you who are not familiar with the Burndown Chart, we will briefly go over the main characteristics. At the end of the day, on the planning day, all the estimates in hours are added, and that gives us a value of total hours, which is marked on the y-axis. Sprint end date is marked on the x-axis. A red line is drawn joining these 2 points. This red line indicates the ideal of hours of work achieved per day to ensure all sprint stories get done. Each day the developers log their hours, and this is the blue line, always increasing. When they log their hours, they must recalculate the remaining hours, and this is the green line on the chart. As this becomes a habit, and almost without realizing, they are doing daily planning, which is an updated estimation. This updated estimation is reflected in the yellow line, which results from adding logged hours plus the remaining hours. The ideal value would be a horizontal yellow line. When the yellow line increases, it is warning us that issues are taking longer than expected, and that provides us warning on what might be the outcome of a sprint. These charts can be done by person, by team, by location, and it is a very quick and realistic way to know how our teams are coming along with their workload, even though they are working in different countries. Okay, quality and delivery. How can we assure the quality of code delivered through widespread teams across various locations? Well, for this we do code reviews with video and screen sharing to increase the richness of the experience. This activity is also supported by specific tools like Crucible, Garrett, or Code Collaborator or Smart Pair. Code comments are very important for the team interaction. Jira, for example, provides Crucible, which is a helpful plugin that tracks comments and relates them to a particular ticket and also relates them to the specific piece of code being delivered. Code reviews are mostly done peer-to-peer, but at times can also be done in groups, which is an excellent way to spread and extend the expertise concentrated in one site or in one person to the rest of the group. Another fundamental moment of the sprint is sprint review. called the demo because it is the moment when the team demonstrates what has been accomplished during sprint. Tools used for the demo are desktop sharing tools such as GoToMeeting, JoinMe, and Yugo. Demos are done in one site, normally the customer site, and each team member can access that site through a VPN, and using one of these desktop sharing tools demonstrates the work that he or she has done. Another important part of Scrum are the roles. The typical roles are the Scrum Master. But the Scrum Master is not a traditional team lead or a project manager, but acts as a buffer between the team and any distracting influences. The Scrum Master ensures that the Scrum process is used as intended. He is the enforcer of the rules of Scrum. He often chairs key meetings and challenges the team to improve. The role has also been referred to as a servant leader to reinforce this dual perspective. Then we have the product owner, who represents the stakeholders and is the voice of the customer. He is accountable for ensuring that the team delivers value to the business. The product owner writes customer-centric items, typically user stories, ranks and prioritizes them, and adds them to the product backlog. The other typical role, of course, is a team, who is responsible for delivering potentially shippable increments of product at the end of each sprint. A team is made up of a group of individuals with cross-functional skills who do the actual work. They analyze, they design, they develop, they test, and they document. And from our experience, we have learned that project leader typical activities are important and may sometimes be left in the hands of the Scrum Master. But sometimes, in distributed teams, we have been able to prove that having a part-time leader in each site has been very beneficial for the team and the project work as a whole. This leader attends personal and particular issues that arise that are not directly related to the project work but definitely impact it. Another role that we have found to be key in our success has been the subject matter expert. This role is filled by a person with a special technical expertise. The subject matter expert helps teams achieve their fullest potential by applying best practices to their work and helping every team member expand his perspective on a given problem. This role is responsible for researching and selecting technologies, for defining the architecture, for setting up the infrastructure, this means environments, continuous integration, configuration management. He also provides technical coaching for the team and supervises the code reviews. The subject matter expert also supports our human resources department with the recruitment process by adding a technical perspective, as well as contributing to training plans for specific skills needed by the teams. This role has been very useful to architect a culture that supports early feedback and open sharing of ideas. We have also been able to solve some critical issues by having the subject matter expert travel to another site to coach team members and ramp up the expertise on that site to the knowledge needed for the project to develop in the required timeline. Well, I think with this, we've covered the elements we need. I think, Silvana, we're ready for the summary.
Yes. Thanks, Lorraine, very much. Now, I'd like to quickly recap what we have discussed here today. We talked about some challenges and how to anticipate and address them. We briefly explained how we determine team composition and select the most suitable engineers. We went through workload balance and planning poker. And finally, we talked about the tools we use to support the whole distributed process. What we are trying to do here is to get the best ideas from the best people wherever they are, to reach the final goal, which is that our projects result in success. I know that most of us share this goal, and I would like to invite you to join our LinkedIn group that we had recently created. The idea is that everyone could share their experiences related to distributed environments.
Okay, thanks, Silvana. And also thanks, Lorraine and Pepe. You have brought a lot of experience, and you've been able to share all of that experience with the audience. So again, it's been really good. And I think that we're ready to start with the Q&A session of the webinar. We have received lots of questions, which is pretty good. We'll try to address all of them. Right? So let's jump into the first question. And let's see. Here it says, how much cost savings or increase do you experience from your distributed teams versus a team of people in the same building? Who would like to take that one?
I think I can answer that.
Great.
Distributing is and the last number of costs. Nowadays it's more, there are more demand of resources and the amount of people able to provide the service. So, of course, it should be a balance in terms of cost. As it doesn't make a presentation, but it's a combination of talent, skills, personality, and also learning. By that I mean I'm referring to the same thing to recruit people. Of course, the cost is a question, but it's not just the there are many others that push as far as the cost.
Okay, thanks, Pepe. We were having some issues hearing you, but I think the audience was okay with that. Let's jump into the next question. And this one says, how do you manage cross-team training in separate locations?
Okay, I'll answer that one. To manage cross-team training, what we need to use are all these tools that we've been talking about. If you want to have a good interaction during the course you are taking, you can have some meeting rooms set up, you can have the monitors, and you can use all these collaboration tools we have mentioned. And just as a remark, I was thinking here in our offices, we have done integration events with people in the other country. So we have all got together at the same time. We have used the monitors and the collaboration tools, but we've actually got together to be able to eat and drink and enjoy and know about the other cultures' typical foods, and to be able to share all that. And this has been very helpful. So yes, you can do lots of activities like that and get to know each other.
So you're not only talking about technical training, but also motivational training and every other kind of meetings that you can do remotely.
Yes, it was a very good experience. We were able to get to know each other. So I think I encourage that. I think it's a good practice.
Perfect. Great, thanks, Lorraine. Here's another one, and this one says, what are the different ways to easily implement Agile practices for distributed teams? And specifically when the team has been divided with coders in one location and testers in a different location.
Okay, I can answer that. We have mentioned a lot of tools that helps with that, but specifically with coders in one location and tester in another, we usually like to have blended teams in our offices. But what is more important is that everyone is included at the beginning of the project, at the early stages of the project. Because if everyone shares the objectives and the scope of the project, and everyone is on the same page, they will be able to continue working at their own offices, at their own location.
Okay, and if it happens, I mean, if they do have the team separate, what would you recommend specifically if they have to work as two separate teams?
Yes, okay, we can use all the tools that we had mentioned about the screen collaboration, the GoToMeeting, Skype, and all those tools to shorten the distances.
Perfect. Thanks.
My recommendation there is that is to avoid having the QA in one side and the developers in the other, just by definition. I mean, if it's happened because they live together in one side and the others live together in the other, that is okay. But avoid doing this by design. The idea will be them all to feel like a single team. So not by designing, by design is split them on different locations.
Right, perfect. And I think that this question is closely related to that one. And what are some typical challenges that you face when you have separate teams doing the daily Scrum meetings?
I can answer that. I would say that one of the most common mistakes implementing Scrum in any project, not just because they are distributed, is the distraction that people have in the daily stand-up meetings. It's like there is a tendency on people to feel like they go to the meeting just to present their reports to the Scrum Master or to the product owner, but in reality, the idea of the daily stand-up meeting is to understand where is the rest. So to check if I can contribute with them, if we need to change something in the strategy or whatever. So even if the team is all co-located, I would recommend them to move to a different place. I mean, to go to a meeting room in order to be kind of isolated from other distractions. And well, if the team is distributed, I would recommend to use the webcam, since it will allow them to be kind of together, and it will help on checking if everyone is distracted or if everyone is paying attention to the daily stand-up. It is quite a short meeting, but it's kind of a key element on the Scrum process.
Okay, perfect. Now let's jump to a different kind of question, and this one says, how long are the sprints?
Okay, I think I can answer that one.
Perfect, Lorraine.
According to Scrum, sprints should be 1 week to 4 weeks. That would be the official answer. But 1 week we have planning session and we have the demos, so 1 week is too short. 2 weeks works okay, 3 weeks works okay, 4 weeks is far too long. But from my experience, the very best time would be 2 weeks, because 3 weeks tends to produce too much anxiety. After the first week and after the second week, people start getting sort of nervous. And the question is, are you going to be able to do everything that's on the sprint backlog? And they start getting worried. So I would say that 2 weeks gives a good equilibrium between the time we spend in planning and in demos and in meetings, giving time for the team to self-organize, and getting the sprint done. So I think, at least from my experience, 2 weeks would be the answer.
And I also think that longer sprints can make it harder. Pepe, yes, please go ahead.
For instance, there are cases where the product doesn't learn what is coming next. So if the product needs to check the progress quickly in order to see what is coming next, well, then maybe it would make sense to have shorter sprints. On the other hand, there are cases where you have a 4 sprint team working together, all in the same pattern. There are activities that are expensive, like integrations, or relation, whatever. So in those cases, maybe it's lower. And as long as in the fix to data.
Okay, we are very sorry if some of you are experiencing some kind of interruption on the connection, but it seems one side of the connection is not working very well. We'll jump right to the next question, and this one says, do you use pair programming?
Okay, I think I can answer that one. We don't officially use pair programming, which means 2 people working on the same code. But sometimes when we've had some difficulties with the deliveries, this would be sort of like an anecdote, no? We've had some trouble sometimes with the delivery, and what we've done when one is very tired, you have one person writing out the code and another person of the team, of course, sitting next door to him and checking on all the code. And another anecdote that we've also had, we've had one person working here in Argentina, working on the same code with one person in South Korea.
Wow.
But there it was easier because we had different timetables. So when one was sleeping, one was working. When the other one was sleeping, the other one was working. So, but no, we don't officially actually do pair programming.
And that anecdote brings us straight to the next question. And someone here is asking, how do you organize the daily stand-up meetings when you have time differences of 11 to 12 hours?
Okay, I answer that. Indeed, I think we are not the most appropriate to answer that question because we enjoy the benefits of nearshore. And in our opinion, technology can solve the distances of the different teams, but allowing to run teams with different collocations. But it struggles solving the time zone differences. So you can use some tools for that, but I think that we hadn't experiences about that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. And I think we're on for a final question because we're getting to the top of the hour here. And this one says, how do you manage IP protection being in multiple locations?
Okay, let's see if I understand the question. When you say IP protection, you are talking about intellectual property?
That's right.
Okay. Intellectual property. Well, when we start working on a project, as we have to sign some non-disclosure agreements and some confidentiality documents. And very often, many of our projects also follow international standard of security. So that would depend on the actual model used in a particular project, for instance. Maybe it's a PCI Council, or maybe it's another kind of security standard. But yes, we definitely follow policies according to each project.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Lorraine, and again, thanks everyone here. We're running out of time, so that will have to be the last question in today's webinar. If there are additional questions that were not answered, or you would like more information on any of the topics covered here, please contact us. We'll gladly answer all the questions and follow up with any extra information. As Silvana shared, we have created a LinkedIn group to start discussing this kind of topic because we've seen that it has generated a lot of interest, and we really want to hear from you and give you all the information we can provide. So I will invite you once again to join that group and start some interesting discussions there. We will share that link in the follow-up email. In that email, we will also share a link to the slides and a recording of this video. So thanks everyone for joining. It's been a pleasure to share this live event with you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Goodbye.